everybody, this is Sherry with CPR, Craft, Pray, Repeat. Merry Christmas! We're going to start this video off with me making the background for the Santa napping die that I used from CottageCutz. And I just used my Stampin' Up! Hardwood background stamp and some Memento Toffee Crunch ink. Now you're going to see where it's already inked on the back. That's because I did it and I didn't like how far I put it. I wasn't quite sure. I mean, I'm trying to work in thirds, and so I figured the other side was too high, so I started again. Now I just used my antique linen distress ink, and you'll see there that I'm pinching together the bristles on that makeup brush, which I got at either Walgreens or CVS. I can't remember, but I got it on sale for $1.50, or no, $1.99, excuse me. And so I'm using it, and because I have the mini ink pads, I'm trying to squeeze the bristles together so that, you know, more bristles hit the ink. And so that's what I'm doing, if you're wondering. But I absolutely love the effect that it gives me for this card. And I will definitely be going and purchasing more of these makeup brushes when they go on sale. I've wanted the Clarity brushes, but it just seems ridiculous to pay that amount of money for 3 brushes when I think these worked great. I think this worked great. I was really happy with it. And now I'm just cleaning off the antique linen off the brush, and that way I can use it again for you know, another one, but I'm going to try to keep one for every color family. Now I'm going over the bottom here to make my floor, and I'm using the antique linen as well, but I don't really like it. I don't know, it just blended in too much with the color of the wood. So when I pull this off, I'm going to say, oh, I missed a spot, and then I'll go ahead and stick it back on and try to fix where I missed, and then I'll decide, I don't like it. And then once I decide that I don't like it, then I'm going to switch and use tea-dye distress ink, and I'm using my ink blending tool from Little Acres Creations that I love, and just redoing the bottom there, and I like it way better, way better. I like it the darker color. It seems to just make the wall pop. And then I just take a ruler and I draw a line to be what would be like the baseboard, but then decided I think I wanted it a little thicker, and I'm almost wishing I had used like a brown, like the chisel tip on my brown Copic, so that I could, you know, have had a brown floorboard to match, kind of match the walls and stuff. Now, I had to run this through twice on my Big Shot because I was using the 110-pound Recollections cardstock. And I really think, you know, that was a bit of overkill. So, no, excuse me, it was the 120-pound white Nina Solar White. So, you know, you really don't need to use that heavy of the cardstock. I don't know what made me do that, because it, you know, it just, I think it made my project a little bulky too, because the paper was just so thick. So I will put the colors that I use on the screen for everything that I color. And I know that his beard here and his mustache look really gray right now, but once the ink dries and it gets put up against the other colors, trust me, it will look white. We're just laying in the shadows. That's all we're doing. And so when we put it up against the red and stuff of his suit, it'll look white. It'll look okay. Because I can see here, and I thought, oh my golly, was it that dark? And I pulled back out the card to look again just to make sure. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I know what we're doing here. Now here I'm doing again, just putting in the shadows on the white. This is the fur around the bottom of his jacket. These are the little cuffs around his sleeves. And you see where if I had had my magnetic sticky board, how much easier this would have been. I wouldn't have been trying to hold on to those teeny weeny pieces. And then the piece on there to the left, The big piece is the fur that goes around the top of his jacket, which that was a nice size piece, so it wasn't near as hard to hold on to. And I really do like cutting out my pieces in white, but they're also fun to cut out in color, so you don't have to feel like you have to color them. You know, I mean, cut it out the color it is, and you know, but in my opinion, definitely ink them. Okay, ink the edges, because that makes a big difference when you're putting together die cuts. Now, I started here with a different color and I switched to YG61 because the color that I had been using was too dry. And so YG61 worked perfect. And you'll see that when I go to like put a, how do you want to say it? When I go to put the shadow in between the back of the chair and the armrest, I leave a gap, because if I put them right up against each other, there would be no definition and you'd not be able to tell where the armrest ended and the back of the chair began. So see, there you can see now where I've left a little bit of the gap. Now I'll color it in and I'll go over it with my lightest color, but it gives us the definition that we need to distinguish the pieces. And I'm also doing tip to tip coloring to help make everything blend a lot easier. He was so much fun. I love this card. And I am going to put a link in the description box, because I do have a video that I've already done, and it was put on the CottageCutz blog, showing how to assemble Santa, because he does have quite a few pieces and he's a little different from the average die cut. So, you know, I will link that in the description box below. And so here I'm just coloring my pieces red and getting all of that, you know, colored up and all pretty. I love those colors for the red. I love it. R17, 29, and 39. I love it. It just, it makes such a deep, rich color. I think it's so pretty. And so I'm just finishing up Santa's suit and putting in all the shadows, then going in with my mid-tone. And right now he looks really funky, doesn't he? But once you put all the other pieces with him, that funky line in the middle of his pants there, he works. Trust me, he looks a little odd right now, but he works. And so I'm just going back over and darkening everything up and blending everything together just a little bit more. And now I'm just going to take my gold gel pen for the buckle, because I definitely wanted it to be metallic gold. And then here's some of the pieces that I put on the inside from the, I think it's, oh my golly, forgive me guys, it's from their new fence die for Christmas. I also used window with shutters and window Christmas friends. And that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm cutting out my window for the front of my card. And I will also cut out a snowman from Window Christmas Friends to go on the front of my card as well. And what you're going to see is the piece that I did with Santa, it goes on the inside of the card. And then this is going to go on the outside of the card, so that when you look through the window, you're looking into Santa's house, which I thought was, I've wanted to do something like this forever, and I was tickled to death. I mean, they made it so easy for me to do it, because they gave me exactly what I needed. I was over the moon happy. Now here is where I go and I start inking my stuff. Now this one I'm using ice spruce, and I'm just going to go around lightly around the edge of the snowman. And forgive me for being off camera. I don't know where my head is sometimes. And I'm using the weathered wood here for the blue pieces that I use for the scarf and the band on the hat and stuff like that. Now for black pieces, you know, there's no white distress ink or anything, so I just use a pigment ink from Stampin' Up. I don't have any other whites, so you know, this is what I use. Use whatever you have, but I just think when you have something black, if you put, you know, a little bit of white around the edge, it really makes a difference and makes it stand out. And now here I'm just using my Clear Star Jelly Roll pen to put what would look like little metallic lines of thread through the scarf. I did that on one of my Christmas tags, and I just fell in love with how it looked, and it just, those are my favorite kind of sweaters at Christmas. The ones that have the metallic gold or silver or red stripes through them. They just seem so holiday-ish and so Christmas, and they always just kind of make me happy. So my snowman is going to be happy too. And so I'm getting him all together. I'm using my black glaze pen for his eyes. And then I'm going to start putting them together. And put the band on the hat using my art glitter glue, which you can get at Honey Bunny's Treasures. I love that glue. That's the only kind of glue I use. Putting my little carrot nose on there. Now I'm trying to figure out where I want my arm to be, because I don't want it hidden under my scarf. So figured that out, put my scarf on, slide my arm back there, and put my little snowman together. Now he's going to go on the front of my card as part of the decoration. And I love the fact that, you know, she just made this so easy for me with these dies, because I've always wanted to make a card where you're looking at the outside of somebody's house, but you can see the inside of their house. So it has to be two separate scenes. And this was just perfect. And here I'm just using my weathered wood to ink up the blue pieces that I cut out. And like I said, if at all possible, ink your pieces. I mean, I wouldn't sit and ink teeny weeny weeny ones. I mean, that's just gonna be, you know, way crazy. But if you can possibly ink it, because it will make a huge difference in how your piece looks when it's finished. And I'm just using my 1/8 inch score tape and my bone folder to press it down. And I've just got some overhead projector sheets here, and I'm going to lay it across the bottom and then cut it out, because I wanted it to look like it had glass behind it. And to me, this just worked perfect. I think I would have felt funny if it didn't have something between it and Santa, if that makes any sense. And what I did to cut out my square on the front was I just laid my window where I wanted it, traced the little squares on the inside, and then used an X-Acto knife to cut that out. Because there's, you know, there is no die for that, you know, particular size, unless you know, you might have a rectangle die that works, but my X-Acto knife worked perfect. And I'm just lining up my piece here and get ready to put my shutters on. Now I'm going to use my Dari's foam strips that I got from Honey Bunny's Treasures. These things are perfect. They're already thin and tiny, so they're not like the bigger ones that we would have to cut off a piece of it and try to make it fit. These just work great. I love those things. I have 2 packs of them, and I will be ordering more when they're gone, which probably by Christmas they'll be gone. So I'm gonna have to get on the ball here and get me some more. But they just fit perfect on these tiny little die cut pieces. So I'm putting the top on the window here to make it look all pretty. And I chose to do the flower box in white. I mean, you could do it any color you want, but I've kind of thought that since my house was going to be white, that, you know, my flower box would be white as well. And there are flowers and things that you can put inside the flower box if you wanted. I didn't really want to put anything in it right now because it being winter and stuff, but I still wanted it there. And I'm just popping up my snowman on some dimensionals from Stampin' Up. and putting him down there in the corner, and then I do use a tiny bit of glue to glue his hand there to the flower box because I was afraid if I didn't it would get bent. And I'm putting Santa on the inside, seeing where he goes. And because when I had originally done this, I planned on him being the front of a card, I needed to trim him down just a little bit to make him the right size to go inside the card. And there he is. You can see him through the window. I love it. Santa's taking a dab. Santa's taking a dab. I can't know. It really doesn't take a lot to make me happy. I love it. And I love working with these die cut pieces. So I'm just using some thick double-sided tape to put on the back so that the inside stays good and secure. And it will be done when this is it, guys. Put this on the back and then close the front, and we've got an awesome scene all provided by CottageCutz dies. Alright guys, I hope you like this video. I hope it's helpful to you. Remember to practice your CPR, craft, pray, repeat. Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye.